of the rim. Garnett on the slam. Using Curry way downtown. Oh, what a shot from Curry.
Okie dokie, where are we now, ladies and gents? The third round is commencing today. How did we get here? Celtics and Cavs, 5-game series. Pacers beat the Knicks in 7. Minnesota won. They did it. They did it in 7. And the Mavs advance in 6. So I had the Thunder in 6. I had the Wolves in 7. Celtics in 5. And actually had New York in 6. So just like the rest of the prediction videos, we are briefly going to discuss what happened in these series and try to use it to predict what happens going forward. As usual, let's start with what I got wrong. Indy and New York did have New York advancing in that series, even with their injuries, which is why I'll just take the L. I'm not even going to try to justify it. I can state the obvious thing. The Knicks, their entire team just kind of turned to dust in front of our eyes over the last 2 months. However, I will say coming into this series, I should have counted that in. I should have calculated it. I should have just said, yeah, I think New York is a better team. They can win, but they are also literally one Jalen Brunson foot tweak or some other injury away from probably not being able to get it done. We'll obviously give the Pacers credit for coming into game 7 and shooting 200%. And there were some close games. New York still could have had it. And yeah, it just kind of got unfortunate for them by the end. Jalen Brunson fractures his hand. It was the end of the road for them. So Indiana will advance to the conference finals, where they will probably lose to the Celtics in 5 or 6. I can just go ahead and throw that one in right now. Look, as a Celtics fan, I will say this is the first time I think I've experienced a cakewalk, and it's really not that fun. I find myself kind of wondering, damn, we go through 2 months of not really being tested and then have to run into a serious team in the finals as their first test. That does worry me. Cakewalk is also not entertaining. It is interesting being on the other side of it. I think I spent pretty much all the 2010s watching other teams get a cakewalk and knowing who was going to be in the finals for a majority of that decade. It is cool to get the shot at it, but boy, it is unfortunate there are some probably business reasons conferences will never be eliminated, so we won't even go down that road. By now, I know to pretty much calculate the Celtics losing a game, probably game 2, but anywhere a game, they just don't sweep teams apparently. Indiana, as you saw, also has the capability for their offense to go really far. So yeah, I definitely feel like they can get a game. We don't exactly know when we'll see Porzingis back. I'm saying this without him, this should be 5 games. That's where I will stand. And yeah, once again, because of the cakewalk, didn't really need to discuss the Celtics round against Cleveland either. That was the 5 games we said it was going to be. Welcome to the summer of probably Donovan Mitchell sweepstakes. All right, West Side, let's talk about the interesting stuff. I did get Thunder and Mavs wrong. I had Thunder in 6. Luka Doncic basically averaged a triple-double with nearly 2 steals a game and shot almost 40% from 3. Meanwhile, PJ Washington shot 47% from 3. Also averaged near a double-double, helped their defense remain as switchable and versatile as it's been, which gave them the edge in a series that could have gone the other way and could have definitely been 7. Some of these games were really close, could have gone either way. I think they edged them out in the half court for sure. OKC, you could definitely just pick out a good number of possessions where an action didn't really bear anything, and then they kind of go to their standard, let's create something, let's see if we can get someone to help off, get an open 3. And the Mavs defense, they just made it really tough. Shea did his thing. However, I think you could just kind of tell throughout the series OKC was the team that was on their heels and needing to make more adjustments. They even went with giving Josh Giddey the first bench assignment of his career in the middle of an all-important playoff series. It's kind of like the one thing you would consistently hear from OKC fans this year of how he doesn't really fit the lineup, how he can be a liability at times. It does feel a bit as if we've seen the last of him in a Thunder jersey. And yeah, Dallas just simply got the edge in the end. They had to come back on their home floor in game 6 to win the series. I think when I told y'all at the beginning I had no clue what to do with this one, it's because I truly didn't. It was a case of how good is Luka going to be? What's the 3-point shooting going to be like on either side? Because I do think both these teams were capable of kind of doing what Dallas ended up doing there. This Thunder team has got flexibility. They can come back and fix a couple of the roster issues they have going forward or add to it. You heard Gordon Hayward there at the end say he didn't feel like he really had opportunity to help this team. And the timing of the move and when they acquired him, it feels like that was there. I don't want to call it a go for it move, but this is what we've got going into the postseason move. It didn't really help. So good series. And Luka Doncic is in his second conference finals. This time with a team I think you can look at and say, man, they could get it done. They could actually go there. They'll be taking it up against Minnesota, who actually did it. They went into Denver and won a game 7 on their home floor. I called Minnesota in 7. Still watching it actually happen the way it did, I really can't believe it. They came back from what? Pretty nice deficit in game 7. I thought Denver came out with the swagger of a champion in the beginning and cool, this was it. No, I told y'all this team, after not really just seeing them in the first round, it was a combination of seeing what they did to the Suns in the first round and seeing how average Denver looked against an average Lakers team. That was the thing that got me to look and say, man, only in year 2, this Wolves team, who everyone was saying the Nuggets are kind of scared of, or maybe not scared of, but they are wary of after last year's series, they got it done after one try. In the end, there were enough questionable performances from Jamal Murray, which is exactly what I was worried about. This is a team that doesn't have a great bench. They don't even have an acceptable replacement for Murray at all, or somebody to just come in and do some of the things he can do. So knowing he might have been slow, definitely went into it. And then Minnesota, just their versatility, man, figuring shit out. You'll have these moments where Cat is doing well, but he gets in foul trouble. So then they are pretty much forced to just go with Naz Reid, who is an amazing talent to be coming off the bench, is why he's 6th man of the year. At that size and that position, being able to handle the way he does, shoot the way he does, and then play defense. He came in and at times played acceptable defense on Jokic, which is a really, really hard thing to do. Mike Conley missed a game. Had he missed a series, it would have really been over for them. It just kind of put them in position where they had to play some really horrid lineups and survive against a still talented Denver team. And so him coming back obviously alleviated that pressure, gave them some more options, made it much harder to just funnel the defense the way Denver wanted to. Then their defense as a whole, bro, this is why in the back of my mind, knowing this is carrying a strong possibility of producing the team that comes out of the West, I'm just going, okay, would I rather have the Celtics dealing with this Nuggets team with a Jamal Murray who you don't know what you're gonna get and they aren't that deep, or this Timberwolves team that is young and spry and hungry and is that deep and has the length and versatility they do on defense? That is probably the part that scares me the most. As you probably saw, the offense can grind to a halt at times. There are situations you can beat Minnesota in, but boy, the physicals on this team, it is kind of a nightmare for a squad where really it's a nightmare for anyone, but especially if most of your attack comes from the perimeter. Oof, I don't know, man. Which is why this upcoming conference finals is so damn interesting. They will be playing Dallas, two teams with young stars. Minnesota's never been to the finals. Dallas has only been there in 06 and 11. This time, I'm not looking at Luka going, damn, you're in the conference finals, that's cool, but you got no chance to win it. No, either of these teams can win this series. So what will it entail? All right, here's some things that sound simple, but I assure you they definitely matter in a series between two teams who are as close as I imagine they might be. If you're Kyrie Irving, and if you're the Dallas Mavericks, I'm gonna say you probably can't afford this time to have Kyrie just be good / average. He wasn't bad against the Thunder. He also wasn't what we know Kyrie can be, and I feel like that kind of got ignored because of the play of other guys, and PJ Washington shooting a whole 15% higher than his regular season average from 3 definitely help. So yeah, you would need Kyrie to be more involved in it. Kind of goes to my bigger point. Once again, when you have to talk about these teams and split hairs, I'm looking at them and going, well, which one of these star players is going to blink first? Because they're gonna see semi-similar coverages at times. So at this point, I'm just going to assume whatever Luka has been limping about throughout these last few months is not going to be a factor. It just kind of depends. Coming into OKC, I thought it would hamper him more than it did. It really didn't. He logged 41 minutes a game as well. Okay, that's besides the point though, not just injury. In handling the coverages they see, who's going to be more bothered? Is it going to be Ant dealing with the length of PJ Washington or Derrick Jones Jr. at times? You saw, especially with certain lineups that the Wolves had, one of the Nuggets' favorite things to do, because Ant has that really volatile quality about him. If he even looked like he wanted to attack, they were desperately trying to show him too. I am very interested to see how much the Mavs have to do that coming in, because you never want to have to show a guy too. In the Mavs case, you might be able to stick with the primary defender, stick with some help to start with, and if it gets really bad, then that's how you get forced into what Denver was doing. Minnesota has that same question with Luka, and really Kyrie, but mostly Luka. Kyrie is just going to do what he does sometimes. He's going to outskill some of his matchups. Luka is a bit trickier to figure out with his size and the fact he just flat out shoots over people sometimes. And that's once again why Dallas is sitting here in their second conference finals. In 2022, it wasn't as much of a talented team, but because of the coverage you have to show Luka when he's on, it's really hard. What are you going to do? You're going to leave Kyrie open? What if PJ Washington is even shooting 40% from three? That's still much higher than most teams can afford. Derrick Jones gave you 37%. So while the Mavs are so good, man, there's potential for you to be in hell when you're having to figure out Luka, but then also just having to live with one of these other guys doing the things they're capable of. Another thing that interests me for Dallas now is look at the big man rotation they were dealing with last series and look what it is now. Okay, I will give you that Gobert a lot of the times looks goofy on offense. He is also a guy Minnesota has shown they are not just going to keep off the floor in certain situations. Even if they could use Nas more offensively, Gobert still raises your ceiling on that side of the ball. You're gonna have to deal with that. You're gonna have to deal with Cat when he's aggressive, and you're gonna have to deal with Nas Reed and the defense he brings. It's a lot different from dealing with this rookie in Chet and then Jalen Williams, and that basically being it. This is an elite big man rotation that has found a lot of synergy together in many. Another thing I'm looking at, which prompts me to just ask some basic questions, I'm going, is this series really just going to come down to who does what outside of Luka and Anthony Edwards? Because, okay, I'm looking back at this Nugget series and going, well, a lot of the times you saw them sending to Anthony Edwards or in these lineups. In a lot of lineups, you would look at Jaden McDaniels and go, that's the guy we would probably rather be open out of anybody right now versus anything that could happen, whether it's Cat seeing a smaller defender and being aggressive or hitting a three, or Ant doing some foul shit to you. You would definitely rather the ball just hit McDaniels in a corner and live with the results. But then again, he's coming off a series where he just shot 38% from three. So with how talented and versatile both rosters are, this could definitely just come down to who shot better from three and who shot more of them outside of a PJ Washington and Jaden McDaniels. Did you take advantage of the lineups that had Kyle Anderson and Rudy Gobert in it? Did you get hit a couple of times from Mike Conley? Because at the end of the day, players as good as Ant and Luka are probably going to find their way in a couple of games. Yeah, they'll struggle. Ant struggled in game 7. They are still going to find their way to leave their prints. So who's going to blink first? I am going to go with Minnesota, man. I'm going to go with Minnesota, and I'm going to predict another long series. I'll go 7 games. The composure I just saw from this Wolves team, who completely forfeited the momentum they had by winning both of Denver's home games and losing 3 straight and then going down in game 7 and still being able to figure it out. I feel like they've earned the benefit of the doubt, but then again, it's also just the talent and the versatility you have got around Anthony Edwards here. Once again, the switchability and the length of a Alexander Walker, McDaniels, and Nas Reed, on top of what Gobert does do successfully on defense, that is just a lot to deal with. And I feel like when I'm splitting hairs and saying who can I bet on to struggle more here, or which team can I bet on to cause more problems or just enough problems for the other squad star player, I trust Minnesota with it. I trust Minnesota with it is why it's probably the matchup I was most afraid for the Celtics. Yeah, I've just watched this unit over the span of a month and a half. Snatch chains, execute, get themselves out of tight spots. There's just nothing that they're missing so far for me to not give them the benefit of a doubt, and what I think will be a close series. So I'm going to stick with it. I think it will be good, though. It's going to be highly entertaining, and it's going to depend on a few factors. I'm stressed making this prediction. This is very good for the league. It ain't good for the league that Boston, as I already kind of did their prediction, should be able to get to the finals with minimum resistance. It's really not a disrespect to the Pacers. It's just people have spent this year talking about how good the Celtics are, but then how they expect them to choke. And that seems to be the only way people actually expect Boston to lose, is for them to choke. So in the East, that's especially true. Call a spade a spade. They're a lot more talented than this team. Defensively, it just should not be tough for the Celtics to find their way. They've got a lot they can throw at Halliburton. If they do get KP back towards the end of the series, if it goes that far, that's some more insurance. I am predicting we are going to get a Celtics-Wolves finals. Have fun choosing, KG. Let me know what you think is going to happen in these series and what you think of the playoffs so far. leave that in the comment section below while hitting the bell next to my name if you want notifications every time a video drops, and subscribing. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one.